This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life. Oh, we're back. I think we've straightened up now. Maybe.
Okay, no more about pigs. All
Yeah.
right. So
Okay.
nothing else about pigs.
So.
Except we raised pigs. We had little pigs. They are the cutest little things you've ever seen. All right. So Frank and I have talked about a lot of the fun of this show is being able to share the accomplishments of your friends and relatives and people who pay you to share their news and all that good stuff. My good friend Paul Hutton, who is an amazing historian, and if you've ever watched the History Channel at all, you have seen Paul because he's on, I think it's a law, everything they do, he has to have him in it. So Paul has a new book on the Apache Wars. It is incredible. I cannot tell you how good this book is. If you know nothing, it's a great book. If you know everything, it's a great book. It just illuminates this whole period of history and the personalities. And of course, we did a segment when I was down in Las Cruces, New Mexico, last fall for the Order of the Indian Wars meeting down there. Paul was there, and we toured a lot of that country. And there's a lot of Kansas connections because, of course, the forts where a lot of this stuff was coming out of. You know, Leavenworth is still, rules the West. No matter what is happening in the West, there's some connection to Leavenworth at any point in time. So lots of connections there. And we're just going to take a closer look at Paul and this wonderful book and a lot of the personalities and names that you've heard of, and it's really cool.
You didn't bring the book so I could hold it up.
Sorry, Vanna. They called him Mickey Free. His kidnapping started the longest war in American history, and both sides, the Apaches and the white invaders, blamed him for it, according to historian Paul Andrew Hutton in his latest work, The Apache Wars, The Hunt for Geronimo, The Apache Kid, and the captive boy who started the longest war in American history. Mickey Free was a mixed-blood warrior who moved uneasily between the worlds of the Apaches and the American soldiers. He was never trusted by either, but desperately needed by both. He was the only man Geronimo ever feared. He played a pivotal role in this long war for the desert Southwest, from its beginning in 1861 until its end in 1890 with his pursuit of the renegade scout, Apache Kid. In this sprawling, monumental work, Paul Hutton unfolds over 2 decades of the last war for the West through the eyes of the men and women who lived it. This is Mickey Free's story, but also the story of his contemporaries, the great Apache leaders, Mangas Coloradas, Cochise, and Victorio, the soldiers, Kit Carson, O.O. Howard, George Crook, and Nelson Miles, the scouts and frontiersmen, Al Sieber, Tom Horn, Tom Jeffords, and Texas John Slaughter, the great white mountain scout Alchesay, and the Apache female warrior Lozen, the fierce Apache warrior Geronimo, and the Apache Kid. These lives shaped the violent history of the deserts and mountains of the southwestern borderlands, a bleak and unforgiving world where a people would make a final bloody stand against an American war machine bent on their destruction. Paul is an American cultural historian, author, documentary writer, and television personality. He is also a professor of history at the University of New Mexico, a former executive director of the Western History Association, and former president of the Western Writers of America. His research on Billy the Kid led to his consulting on the film Young Guns and landed his involvement in numerous TV productions. Paul is truly a bridge between the academics of Western history and the public audience hungry for those stories. This latest work on the Apache Wars and the personalities involved will open an entire world to those unfamiliar with the story and illuminate that world for those who are.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.